Well, listeners, if you've taken a walk down Little Bourke Street recently, you may have seen some shipping containers that have arrived. Now, inside those shipping containers is a very, very unique experience. And to tell us a little bit about that unique experience that you can go through, we've actually got one of the producers of those shipping containers, I guess is the best way to put it, Amy, on the phone. Welcome to the program, Amy.
Thanks very much. It's good to be here.
So, Amy, tell us a little bit about Darkfield, because these shipping containers that we're talking about are part of Darkfield. So tell us a little bit about what Darkfield is.
Sure. So Darkfield is a collection of experiences that all take place in complete darkness. Each experience, people are wearing headphones and they are hearing a 360-degree soundscape, which is a little bit like a theatre performance that's happening through sound, as well as other things happening. And they kind of build their reality through the sound and other things because it's completely dark. So your eyes can't actually tell you what's happening during the show. So it's a little bit mind-bending because the audio and other things trick your brain into believing the things that we play tricks on you during the show.
So, Amy, tell us a little bit about where did this idea originate and who came up with this idea?
Sure, we work with some amazing creative directors that are actually based out of London, and they work together, so Glenn Neath and David Rosenberg, amazing creative brains that have been working in immersive theatre since it kind of began in England quite a few years ago. And they started exploring performances through sound and then started looking at different ways to use it the best. And it turned out having our own shipping containers in a controlled space meant that we could have complete and utter darkness, as well as our own purpose-built spaces that really can impact the way the show is, rather than having to be set in other theatres and other spaces that we have less control over.
So how did you first become involved with the project?
So I work for Realscape, and we're a Melbourne-based team, and we have been working with David and Glenn since late 2017, when we first started working together to bring their first show, Seance, over here, which is the first shipping container. And we've been collaborating with them ever since. So we now have 4 shows. We've actually never shown 2 before in Melbourne because we were away due to COVID and we couldn't run. But we now have 4 containers and we've been working with them ever since. So our team in Melbourne has a Darkfield collection, and we also have a few other experiences and theatre shows that we're bringing to Melbourne as well.
Now, you mentioned that there's 4 different experiences. Can you tell us what those 4 experiences are and kind of what people can expect from each experience?
Definitely, and they all kind of appeal to different people depending on their fears and anxieties and things that excite them. So I'll run you through them, probably starting with Seance, which is the original. So that one I definitely recommend doing first if you haven't done any before. That's sitting in a container and it's decked out like you're sitting at a table with a medium to contact spirits. So a little bit spooky, a little bit supernatural. And then from there, the next container we built was Flight, and that actually contains a section of an airplane that we sourced from Alice Springs. So it's got real plane seats in there. And that one is a little bit more science fiction. So it's like a multiverse journey where in one world the plane ride is smooth, and I won't tell you too much, but in the other world the plane ride is not so smooth. So I definitely wouldn't recommend that one if you are very scared of flying, as it still can be a little bit turbulent.
Yep.
From there we have Coma, which has an amazing set. It's lying in sets of bunk beds, so each person has their own bed and they're all wearing sets of headphones there. So that one becomes a little bit isolating, but it's a kind of like a mass dream state where we're all lying together in the room. The lights go out, and then obviously a little bit more of an existential show with a name like Coma. And the final one, which we actually is our newest show, Eulogy, is set in a hotel, but it's a little bit like a labyrinth, and you're going through different levels of the hotel, like levels in a dream. But for this one, we've actually developed speech recognition technologies for the show, which each set of headphones has a microphone, and all the microphones are feeding into their own little part of the show that listens to the answers you give as an audience member and adjusts your show based on your yes or no questions, yes or no answers to the show. So that one's fun, and that's the newest one that we've just launched this year. So we're excited to bring that one to Melbourne as well as Coma for the first time.
So you mentioned the new ones there as well. how long does it take to actually develop this experience from the original idea through to when somebody can actually experience it?
It takes quite a while because it obviously starts off with the very first idea and concepting, which David and Glenn, have a few different concepts that they'll research and put together ideas, and then it bounces back with the team. And then there's obviously past that development, different things to develop, like the recording and all the designs for the containers. And then the build, we then usually do testing in festivals in the UK to premiere the shows, test them on audiences, and then we sort of develop them a bit further for the Australian audiences. So it can take a little while. We had previously kind of released one once a year, but obviously everything's a little bit slowed down after the COVID period. So it's sort of been about, I think we released Flight in Melbourne in late 2019, and we haven't been back since then. So it's very exciting to be back.
It definitely is. Now, I have to ask, just so that we don't have people head along that can't do it, is there any kind of people that can't do these experiences? Like if somebody suffers from anxiety or children or anything like that?
Yeah, so we have a few warnings, and you'll find those on the ticketing as well, so if you need to look them up. But obviously it is in a shipping container, so if you're claustrophobic, it might not be for you. Also, if you're scared of the dark, because they are in complete darkness. We then just have individual show warnings, so we don't allow anyone under 15. If you're 13 to 14, you can come with a parent. And then for Seance and Flight, we have a bit of movement in there, so we aren't able to have people that have back conditions, and also if you're pregnant, we don't recommend that. But you can find all that on the ticketing as you're buying it.
Definitely. So, Amy, I guess that's my next question. When can people come along and do the experiences, and also how do they go about booking to come along and do it?
Yes, we're already open, and we're actually running until the end of July, which gives you plenty of time to be able to check out all 4 shows. Each show is about half an hour, so you can fit them into a single night, but we also recommend spreading them out just so you have time to kind of debrief. If you go to www.darkfield.com.au, you can find all the information about the shows. You can find the ticket links there, as well as a contact if you need to get in touch and ask any questions.
It sounds really, really exciting. I've had a friend go along and do a couple, and he said that he absolutely enjoyed it. And I'm thinking I might head along and check out Flight as well. So, Amy, I guess to finish up, what would you like to say to people out there who are thinking about heading along and doing the Darkfield experience?
Well, I think definitely come along and try it out. We have had a lot of people through so far, and everyone seems to be absolutely loving it. So we're really excited to have Melbourne be able to see the new shows, but also some of the old favourites. So I know a lot of people have already seen Seance and Flight and told their friends about it. You might have heard about it previously. So definitely go check them out. I'd start off with Seance if you like, and then go from there with the others.
Well, it sounds absolutely amazing. And for all of our listeners out there, we will have links to all that ticketing information on our website. And if you're listening on the podcast, it'll be directly below the podcast. Amy, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us today. It's been an absolute honour having you on the show, and it's so awesome to see experiences like this coming back to Melbourne post-COVID.
Yeah, it's great. And we're looking forward to seeing you come along to Flight. I'd love to hear what you think.